In this video, we want to add connection string to our project. Now when we are adding a connection string, we actually need a SQL Server. So I hope you have installed SQL Server as well as SQL Server Management Studio. With that in place, if you hit the connect icon here, it will ask you for a server name. Now I have multiple servers that are installed on my local machine. If I type localhost and connect, I'm able to connect there. Next, I have localDB / MS SQL localDB. If I press that, I am able to connect to that as well. And I also have a local server with just a dot here. When I do that, I am able to connect successfully. So I have 3 different servers on my local machine based on what server you have, and you are able to connect in the SQL Server Management Studio. You can use that in the connection string. Right here, if I expand database, you can see I have an MVC test and a Red Mango API database. We will be creating a new database, but for that we need to define connection string inside our project. Defining that is super simple, but where do we define that? You can always hardcode that in program.cs, where we will be setting up the entity framework. But all the connection and secrets will always go inside appsettings.json. It is a basic JSON file where we have a key and we have value. So if you have to define something with connection string, you can say connection here, but when you start typing, IntelliSense will show you that there is something called as connection strings. Now you can ignore that and define your own custom key here, but connection strings is what we will use to get started. That is one of the helper methods that have been provided with the app settings. So if I double click, or you can just type it here, it will be connection strings. That will be the key name. So make sure there is no spelling mistake here and it is exactly the same. Inside the double brackets here, next we have to define a key value pair where we have to define the value. What we have defined here, that is the section name, and inside there we have the key value pairing. We can call that anything we want. I will name that default connection, and then we have to define connection string in the double quotes right here. First thing that we have to define is what is the server. If I go back to SQL Server, I am using a dot here. If it was something else, make sure to copy that and I will paste it right here. I have a dot, so that works. We will add a semicolon, and next property we have to define what will be the database name. I will call that as bulky. Let me add that and semicolon. Let me hide this here, and after this I want to define 2 properties. First one is trusted_connection is equal to true and trust server certificate to be true. If you do not define them, sometimes when you have installed the SQL Server, it requires a trust certificate. If you do not set that, then the connection will not work. So perfect. These 2 properties you have to define as is and make sure there is no spelling mistake. In the trusted connection there is an underscore, but when we write the trust server certificate, there is no underscore or space. So with that we have defined a connection string in our project. In the app settings we have added a block with the name of connection strings, and I told you to use that exact name. Reason, I will explain that in the upcoming videos when we see everything come together. But in that connection strings block here, we have a key with the name of default connection, and there we have defined the connection string for our local SQL Server. So perfect. We have defined our connection string in appsettings.json file. Now how will we use the connection string to connect to the database and actually create a table. Let me continue for that in the next video.